And I'm going to leave with one feel-good story that was just very recently. And I think as good an example as what the mental health treatment court can do as any other that I can think of. We had a young man who's with our program now. He's about 28 years old. 5 years ago, he was 450 pounds. He was at Clark 7th State Hospital. He was sedated for most of the day. He would get as much food as he wanted because it kept him happy and out of trouble, and there was no issues. He was in and out of Clark 7th. He also was in and out of jails. He got into our program. I think he's been with us a little over 3 years now. And he went from the Lackawanna County Prison and 450 pounds to his present situation, where he lives at Step by Step, another one of our groups that participate with us. Also, don't let me forget Allied, because without their help and assistance that we got for their facility, the Harbor House, we had a loss for housing. But we took him from there into our program, gradual build-up. This is a man who, in 18 years, had not spent the Christmas holidays with his family. One of 6 children, lives in the area, his family is local, but they could never handle it. He, right now, lives in his own apartment at Step by Step. It took him 3 tries to pass the written portion of the driving exam. It took him 3 more tries to pass the driving portion of the driving exam, but he got his driver's license. He also got his high school diploma since he's been with us through correspondence courses. He presently, through the help of Goodwill Industries and their job training, and Jeff, who's here, and just such a wonderful part of our program, he has a job at Marywood College in the food services industry now, and he works about 35 hours a week. He has his own pickup truck. He is maintaining his own apartment. He recently bought himself his own computer. And he ran in and finished the Steamtown Marathon. 4 hours and 50 minutes. A group of people from the treatment court were there to greet him. He's about 180 pounds now. He trained with his father, who's a long-distance runner, and who we were sure crossed the finish line hours before he did. His father caught up with us at the finish line and sheepishly announced that he just couldn't hack it, and he dropped out at mile 20 or 21. Michael finished, okay? Really, one of our star pupils, and really done a fine job. But the court works, and it works because people believe it can work, because they're dedicated to it, because we have an enlightened community and people who are willing to sacrifice and go the extra mile to do it. So we'll answer any questions when the opportunity arises. Thank you.
Before we hear from Chief Duffy and Ray Hayes about the Scranton Area Crisis Intervention Team, I kind of want to stay on mental health court for a second, because I want to pose the question and engage a little bit of our resource panel and talk about the application process and what qualifies a person. And Justice panel, please feel free to jump in too. But Jessica, I know you and I were speaking prior about the application process to mental health court. I think a lot of times people hear mental health court and all the successes and what it does and the transformation that it's had in our county, but maybe don't know the initial steps to it. So what's the approval process like? What does the team do in that approval process? How does one make application? I know it's a little bit different than the other problem-solving course that we have in the county. So if we could just kind of start off with some basics about how the process gets initiated. Sure. Yep.
Typically, people come to us with their, I'm sorry, I hope I'm loud enough. Can you hear me?
We have a microphone if you'd like.
Oh, no, that's okay. I don't need to be heard that much. So typically, people come to us either through their attorney, sometimes through family members. And the application process really, you do it through the mental health court office through Colleen Phillips, who's the coordinator. And basically, every Wednesday, I know Judge Urella talked a little bit about how we meet on Thursdays as a team with him, but we also meet up as a panel on Wednesdays. So we staff all the new cases that are coming through. And basically, everybody's there from Scranton Counseling, NHS, myself, housing, because we kind of have to set up everything. Sometimes they're incarcerated, so we'll go out to the prison and meet with them, meet with family members, talk to the attorneys, and just kind of pull it all together from there.
There's sometimes that we can identify someone with a clear and persistent mental illness even before it gets to the attorney. And as being at the jail, if I see someone who meets the criteria and the charges fit into the criteria that the DA's office will accept, then I can take that to the judge and to the team and also present it that way rather than wait for the attorney to get involved to make the application. So when we first started, a lot of our referrals came that way because we had a number of mentally ill people in the jail who we knew we could get out and get into this program, and that's how most of our initial referrals came to us.
Thank you. I'm still staying with mental health, where I'm wondering about the success. And I'm wondering, as a team, what does the team see as indicators of success for a client in the mental health court system?
Well, I think we see them remaining in treatment because we kind of force them to remain in treatment. So in terms of taking medication, in terms of going to their appointments, you know, we keep a handle on that. When we get them into a residential program, we can tell the program that we're there to oversee them, and so they don't have to worry about this person's going to stop going to treatment, going to stop their medication, because we're there and we're seeing them every week, and we have staff with them, ICM staff with them almost every day, and we can get them into appointments. We can get them into their Social Security appointments. We can get them into having their money handled much quicker than they can do that on their own. We've used, Judge Rao has made many calls to people to find employment. We use every resource in the community that we can, and it seems to be working.
Thanks. I just want to spit off.
Well, something that has been left out of the equation here, and why the courts play a role in it, is that we use the teeth of the court, the power of the court, the ability to put people in jail, if necessary, to impose sanctions in order to enforce the treatment. And that ties in with just the question that was asked about what is the success. Well, initially when they come in, they're going to go to treatment because they're going to face sanctions if they do not. It might be the denial of a privilege. They can't go to a family gathering or some community event that is going on. They might be denied that privilege. Or if they violate some of the rules that we very clearly established for them early on, they may find themselves getting a weekend in jail. And so you're going to go to jail for the weekend. When you get out, we're going to have your appointments all reestablished for you, and you're going to go, and you're going to accept that treatment. We feel that we're being successful when we don't have to impose the sanctions anymore. We can stand back, and when they've realized they need the treatment, they need the medications, they're going to do it on their own, and we don't have to force them to anymore. We don't want to have them under supervision for the rest of their lives. We want to teach them the resources that are available, the tools to use, and to be willing to use them because they know it's going to work for them. And that comes with that building of confidence and that acceptance of themselves for who they are.
Thanks, Judge. At this time about the mental health court, I'm going to open it up to our audience. And if anyone has a question for any of our panelists on some of the things that we've heard already about the mental health court, please feel free to just raise your hand and ask.
Judge Durrell, what kind of statistics does the mental health court keep? Do they? And I'm primarily interested, and I know this isn't for adults, but I'm interested in how many people come to the mental health court that don't have a high school diploma or equivalency. I'm really concerned about that, and hopefully we can have a program like this about juvenile justice at some time. But do you keep that kind of statistics?
Well, as I said from the beginning, the development of our court was almost an accident. I mean, we recognized the need and decided we were going to do something to fill that void. So we really are a work in progress. Just within the last month, we made a request and received approval from a PhD candidate out in the Midwest who's going to be coming in and doing an across-the-board study of our treatment courts. Because in addition to the drug treatment court, the mental health treatment court, we have a DUI treatment court, we have a co-occurring court. That is looking at the fact that some people have mental health issues that respond to mental health court. Some have drug issues that respond in drug treatment court. Some have a little bit of both. We're not sure which is the primary motivator. So this is sort of our own identity crisis court, because we're not quite sure what to do with them. And we also were one of the earliest counties to have, and again, Judge Brace deserves the credit for this, a veterans treatment court that is really moving ahead in leaps and bounds. But so for exact statistics such as how many people at this age do we have, or how many do or do not have this, I would say from my own experience, I would have to guess that 50% of our people have not finished high school. That's a guess, though. All right.
Thank you.
Before we move on to the Scranton Area Crisis Intervention Team, are there any other questions regarding mental health court? Sure.
What percentage of the criminal arrests are referred to the mental health court? What percentage of the arrests?
A very small percentage. All right. As I said, we had 4,000 new cases come into the system last year. And the real issue is resources. We would like to take more people out of jail, but we have, there's some cases that, clearly, demand jail. The community has to be protected. They are, violent crimes, and somebody's got to go to jail because the public has to be protected. And then you have some that are, maybe very minor, petty property offenses where no one has been hurt, and that almost always result in either an ARD disposition or a probationary sentence disposition. The real problem comes with those that are in between. And we constantly are on the commissioners about, please give us more probation officers so that we can supervise more people on the street and be sure that those cases that we weren't sure should go to jail or not to begin with have close supervision and are going to be directed to treatment and are going to be directed to education and also stay away from the drugs, stay away from the alcohol, stay away from the bars. Because I think the cost per prisoner at the Lackawanna County Prison right now is about $60 per person per day. And a probation officer, I don't think, it's almost embarrassing to say what they get paid for the hazardous duty that they do. He's over here. Probably $50,000 a year. But we have, our probation officers are supervising between 180 and 200 people per probation officer. Well, give us 3 more probation officers. Let us develop, have them supervising the people that are borderline. We're going to take them out of prison. You do the math. $60 per person per day times, 3 probation officers, 600. Take that out of prison. We got $150,000 cost for these probation officers, but it is really hard to get people to think about spending money in ways different than they always have, and especially still, there are way too many people who do not want to be viewed as being soft on crime. It was a very long answer to a very short question. I'm sorry.
We're seeing more people come into this area from other areas, from the Philly area and from outside the state, that are now, they hear that we have a lot of services here, and then obviously they're getting wrapped up into the criminal justice system. Are they eligible for the mental health court program?
If they're residents of Lackawanna County, they are. And, the big question of residency, there are cases that we frequently have that, someone is in Lackawanna County solely for the purpose of committing a crime. Maybe somebody lives in Montrose, they live in Stroudsburg, they happen to be here for the weekend and they got in trouble. Well, they have to be prosecuted here because by law this is where jurisdiction for the prosecution is. But when it comes to rehabilitative services of this nature, if they're not citizens of Lackawanna County, if they're not residents of Lackawanna County, then we have not been taking them into the treatment courts, and it's merely as a matter of establishing priority for the taxpayers who are residents here.
Gene, we have had some people that have come into the area for treatment through children's services and should have grown up here, but they're still not adults. And we've worked with the Philadelphia courts on a couple of occasions to get people back, get their charges taken care of here, and get them back to where they grew up or they have family.